Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome once more to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard and co here with you until 6:30pm to take a look ahead to the latest sporting action on the Isle of Man this weekend. So, coming up this evening, Railway Cup positions remain up for grabs in the Premier League and a chance for Division 2 promotion hopefuls to close the gap at the top of the table in the latest round of football fixtures on Manx shores. Another tough fixture awaits Douglas in rugby this weekend, whilst a trio of other local sides continue their preparations for upcoming Cheshire Plate and Bowl competitions. And a big weekend in mixed Manx hockey which could see league titles and relegation battles decided. That is all to come this evening. Welcome once again to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio on this crisp Friday evening as we await all the sporting action in Manx football, rugby and hockey and much more besides going into this weekend. And let's dive straight into what is going to be another busy footballing weekend. Railway Cup spots up for grabs in the top flight. More chances for the Division 2 promotion hopefuls to close the gap on Foxdale at the top of the table, as well as the usual assortment of games taking place across the well-contested combination divisions. Let's bring him in for the first time this evening. Good evening, Tony Mepham.
Good evening, Rob, and I'll let you bring the one cancellation in a minute through, but I expect a few more because there's heavy rain last night. We always like to look at the weather, what sort of damage we've had this week, but at the moment we've just got that one game off.
And just very quickly for clarity, could you just explain which game it is we have called off just at the moment?
Certainly can. It's in Division 2. It's Douglas High School Old Boys against Maloo. Early phone call this morning just saying that the pitch is well and truly wet and they couldn't take any chances.
Well, fingers crossed we don't have any more postponements taking place over the weekend. We'll just have to see how the weather unfolds overnight. Well, let's take a look at the other games that are set to go ahead this weekend, starting with Saturday. Let's start in the Canada Life Men's Premier League. All games kicking off at 2pm across all the divisions this Saturday. Starting in the Canada Life Men's Premier League, and two sides, one at the top and another hoping for a Railway Cup spot up at Andreas Playing Fields. It's Ayr United, the league leaders, up against Corinthians, Tony.
Yeah, let's have a look at Ayr United for a start off. We're looking at that league table, Rob, aren't we? And played 10, won 10. And goal difference of 21. Pretty impressive. And how's it all coming about? It's just, they're playing really well. There's good players in there who are playing at the top of the game. And it's looking really good for Ayr United coming up to the halfway stage of the season. They've already qualified for the Plum Properties Railway Cup, so they're in the hat. Hopefully we'll do the draw probably next Saturday when the final game's completed for that halfway stage of the season. But against the Corinthians team that is sort of changes every week, doesn't it, with players coming in, coming out. And I just wonder now, Rob, because I heard you pass a comment before that FC Isle of Man game is off, is if any players are going to be brought into any squads across the Manx football in the Premier League. It could sort of make it predicting tonight very, very difficult. But Ayr against Corinthians on present form, you'd have to go for Ayr to take the victory.
Yeah, FC Isle of Man's game being called off could certainly bring in other factors for the teams across the divisions. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Well, out in the west of the island, St John's United up against St George's this Saturday.
Yeah, this is the game thinking possibly go and watch this one. I'd love to have watched Ayr Corinthians, but a little bit too far to go. But St John's, Sam Brown's team last week, an injured Callum Taggart with 5 goals. Well done to him because he went off and then came back on and completed his scoring. But St George's, we'll just wait and see who's in their squad because, again, with players possibly being allowed to come in, we saw it against St Mary's, will make Johnny Meyer's team a lot stronger. And at the moment, I'm going to go for St John's to win it. St John's do have a game midweek as well against Laxey on Tuesday evening. That's one we've rearranged just in case we need to. But at the moment, with the squads that I think that are going to be for both these teams, I go for St John's.
Very well. Then down at Croytlowie, Russian United up against Braddon.
Yeah, Russian have found some good form, haven't they? Some good results together, some good performances. And, players are just, I think, taking on responsibility now. Up front, I've watched them twice this year and they look okay, but just didn't quite have that clinical sort of goal-scoring attribute, but it seems to be coming now. And I think Russian here going to be too strong for Braddon. I watched Braddon's training session last night. Absolute downpour it was, but plenty of boys there, plenty of enthusiasm, but I just think Russian will be too strong.
don't envy anyone who was out training in any sport of any kind last night. And then looking out to the west of the island again, Peel, who've been on a good run of form themselves, big result for them last weekend up against another of the hopefuls toward the top, Ramsey. They're up against the Laxey side who, yes, they might be a little bit out the way points-wise at the moment, but still with just a very slim outside chance of a potential Railway Cup slot if things go their way.
Yeah, if it goes their way, but I don't know if, well, I think you do know, Tom Creer's transferred today, so he's gone back to Onken, so that's a sort of difficulty for Johnny Palmer to get over because, you know, Jordan Cooper's not been playing and he was great at the start of the season with Tom Creer. When you think of it, I think his first game, Tom scored 5 and, you know, it's going to be a big loss for them. But Brodie Patience is back in. He's a really good player. And I think Ryan Garland might have one more game to go with his suspension, but Cameron Avery and also you've got Adam Meelan in there. It does strengthen that team right the way through. And I think, you know, Johnny's a little bit disappointed the way it's gone for them when you look at the table at the moment. They've only played 8 games, so if they got the 6 that will catch up with the 10, 11 that the other teams have played, you know, 16 is a better position. But I just feel Peel, I watched them last week. They were really good. Good blend of youth and experience, so I'd have to go with Peel.
Well, we mentioned the team that they beat last week, Ramsey, who've had a very strong start to the season. Well, after that setback, they'll be looking to bounce back. They travel to Ballafletcher up against Douglas Royal. Yeah,
Douglas Royal had a good result last week, so, you know, it sort of helps them a little bit. And Royal's pitch is always good to play on. You know, the weather hopefully hasn't caused too much problems up there. But Ramsey last week, again, it's talking about finishing the chances, and I just wonder if they can sort of maybe tinker with that front line a little bit. And no disrespect to anyone that's up there, but Dylan Pickle's got an awful lot to offer, and I didn't think last week he got enough of the ball. So if they can get it through to him, then it might just help. But I thought Don Parrish played really well at the back, so it was good to see. And James Rice in goal. They're strong players, and they're only 24, 25, so it's looking good for Ramsey at the moment. And if they did get a point, I think that's enough to get them into the Plum Properties Railway Cup. That'd be fantastic for them. But I just think Douglas Royal can, if they've got the team that they can get out there, can cause a problem against Ramsey, so it's got to be careful. But Ramsey at the moment.
Interesting prospect indeed. And rounding out the Canada Life Men's Premier League this weekend over at Memorial Playing Fields, Morown up against Union Mills. And I can't put my finger on this one, Tony.
It's funny because when I saw the fixture, when I drafted it out on Sunday, and I just thought to myself, you know what, at the moment, I'd go for Morown. And I'm going to stay with them, Rob, because I just think at the moment, Union Mills have just slipped down that table. They've only got 8 points. They've played 11 games, so they've played a game more than Morown and Braddon. So to me, it's a massive fixture for Morown, and David Brew and Keir Morris will get the best out of that team, and Union Mills have got to try and find something because last year was a big stepping stone for them. They did ever so well, but this year it's just sort of slipped down, and I can't see them doing it at the moment, and that's why I'm going to go for Morown.
Very well, that's the Canada Life Men's Premier League on Saturday. Now to DPS Limited Division 2. The leaders, Foxdale, still undefeated at the top. They don't have a game this weekend. That's going to allow Castletown, Colby and Michael United to potentially gain ground. As Tony's already mentioned, that one game off in DPS Limited Division 2. As it stands, Douglas High School All Boys versus Maloo called off due to a waterlogged pitch. But Tony, plenty of other fixtures, 4 to be precise, taking place tomorrow as it stands.
Well, it is, and you know, we look at Colby and you know, Colby are third in the league at the moment, and they led that Division 2 for quite a while, but now Foxdale and Castletown are right up there competing them. There's a right tussle going on because you're looking at 5 there, and maybe an outside prospect is Douglas High School Old Boys, but you've got Onken Michael, Colby, Castletown and Foxdale. Against Governors, you'd expect Colby to win. I think Alan Collister's team will do it. Ramsey Youth Centre against Castletown. Ramsey Youth Centre's form has improved, so Castletown know that you know what's coming, but Castletown have got plenty of people to score goals. I think Nathan Cardy might still be suspended. I think he got 2 games, he's missed 1, so it might be another one to go. If they're missing him, it's going to be difficult. Jim's against Onken, Tom Keir in there. I can only see Onken winning that. Old Boys and Maloo, we've already said it's been postponed. And Pulrose against Douglas and District. Bottom of the table sort of clash, isn't it? But I think Douglas and District will just get wind up the sails a little bit and they'll win.
Very well, let's take a look to the combination divisions then, starting off with Canada Life Combination 1. 5 fixtures tomorrow.
There is 5 fixtures, and Corinthians against Ayr. The league tables don't lie. I'm going to go for Ayr to win that one. Braddon against Russian. Russian are flying at the moment, so Russian to take victory. Laxey against Peel. Going to go for a draw on this one because, you know, Peel aren't as strong as they were last year. A lot of good young players coming through. Ramsey against Royal, got to go for Ramsey. And Union Mills against Morown, got to go for the Millers to take victory there.
And last but certainly not least, on Saturday, 5 games in DPS Limited, Combination 2.
Yeah, Colby against Governors, I'll go for Colby. Douglas Athletic against Foxdale, I'm going to go with Foxdale. Castletown against Ramsey Centre and Old Boys. Ramsey Centre and Old Boys take the points there. Onken against Jims, I'm going to stick with Onken. And Maloo against Douglas High School Old Boys. Douglas High School Old Boys take the victory.
Very well. Those are our games for Saturday. Let's have a look to Sunday then. We've got 2 fixtures once again in the Canada Life Women's Floodlit Cup on Sunday.
Yeah, Corinthians against Douglas Royal. This is 2:10 kickoff at the Bowl. I'm going to go for Corinthians just to win it. I know Douglas Royal a lot stronger this year, but Corinthians have 1 or 2 sort of players missing at the moment, so it might just help Royal. And Onken against Maloo. Always a good battle between these two teams, but Onken have shown already this season they mean business at the top of the table, and I'll go with Onken.
And last but certainly not least, on Sunday we have 2 games in the Masters Football, both kicking off at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, Corinthians against Uni Mills. I still look at that 19-1, I think it was, that Uni Mills got beat by Onken. I'm going to go for Corinthians. And Douglas and District against Onken. When you look at the forward line that Onken had a couple of weeks ago, Kieran McNulty, Steve Priestnell, and Darren Hudson, you only see one way that game's going to go, and that's why I think Onken will win that one.
Very well. We've got around 60 seconds or so. Just wanted to ask you quickly, because it's the first time we've spoken like this since new sponsors were brought on board, in fact, for the Alabama Football Association Cup competitions. Plum Properties have now come on board to sponsor the Railway Cup, and also announced this week Manx Quality Sheds will now be sponsoring the Hospital Cup for the next 3 years. For you as the Football Association to have the support of local businesses into these competitions continuously over the years, how important is it for the association?
It's huge, Rob, because it's like everyone else. Everyone's battling with the bills, and we're no different at the Alaman FA because the sponsorship is an income stream for us, and we like to have sponsors who want to be part of the association. And Jonathan Leese, who Plum Properties has got that deal done, great. And when you look at Lee Gartland and Carl Gartland as well, heavily involved in football, and when it came up within 24 hours they said we wanted to sponsor it, which is absolutely brilliant news. It means that the association can sit back and sort of relax, because it's tough going. When you look at everything, buying trophies, hiring venues, just putting central heating in the building and everything, it takes a lot of time and money to do it. But my thanks to both those 2 new sponsors. We've still got an outlet there if someone fancies it for the Cal Cup, because the under-18s competition, but that comes about in March, April. But we're looking for a sponsor there too.
Excellent. Well, Tony, thank you very much once again.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, it's been a tough fortnight of games for Douglas in Manx Rugby. There's certainly been signs of encouragement, though, going into their latest match in Regional 2 Northwest this weekend. After facing the top 2 teams in their last 2 games, the Island outfit are on the road again tomorrow against another of the high flyers in the division. What's more, on Ireland, 3 teams are in action as they make preparations for their upcoming Cheshire Plate and Bowl fixtures. Here with the details, as usual, is Dave Christian.
We'll start with the obvious league match. It's Crewe and Nantwich versus Douglas. 2 weeks ago they played Birkenhead Park, who are currently top of the table. Last weekend they played Bowden, who are in second place. Well, this weekend they're playing Crewe and Nantwich, who are in third. Crewe and Nantwich hot on the tails of the other 2. Birkenhead Park and Bowden have lost 1 game each so far. They're only separated at the top by a single point. Crewe and Nantwich have lost 2, and unsurprisingly they're both to Birkenhead Park and Bowden. So it looks like it's going to be a 3-way scrap at the top of Regional 2 Northwest this season. Douglas, meanwhile, remain down in 9th place. They almost beat Bowden last week. There were only 4 points in it. It looked like Douglas had done enough to win the game, and I think looking at the players' reactions afterwards, they thought so too. Douglas will need to take that experience from last week and how well they played and bring it away with them tomorrow to Crewe and Nantwich. It's early kick-off. That's down to travel arrangements, as always. 1 o'clock kick-off there in Crewe. Douglas have got pretty much the same team as last last week. There are a couple of changes though. Jack Loughnane gets a start at hooker. Rob Todd switches to prop. Simon Hodgenott not in the squad this week. Changes to the second row as well. Last week it was a big second row. Liam Kirkpatrick and Seth Waterworth. Not so this week. Connor Garland comes in. He's been impressive with his friendly matches for the Isle of Man Barbarians. John Dutnell also comes into the second row. He's a human dynamo, never stops running, does John. But that big second row from last week, Liam Kirkpatrick and Seth Waterworth, I think Douglas are going to miss that, particularly in the set piece. Kirkpatrick does make the team. He goes in at number 8 in place of Blake Snell. Percy Hampton retains his place on the flank. Wilf Kermode comes in on blind side. 9-10 axis unchanged. Spencer Cope at 9, Lucas Simmons at 10. Centre partnering from last week, Brad Bomar and Sam McCord again. They line up, as do the wings, Kyle Martin, Guy Barons and fullback Josh Duncan. I think the back line's good enough. If that pack of forwards can win enough ball for them, I think Douglas have got a reasonably good chance here. Crewe and Nantwich will have seen that result against Bowden last week, and they'll be a little bit nervous ahead of this one. But on paper, it should be a Crewe win. I've got my fingers crossed for Douglas. Vagabonds are conscious that Ramsey and Southern Nomads have Cheshire competition next week. Nomads in the Cheshire Bowl, Ramsey in the Cheshire Plate, and have suggested a 3-way friendly up there at Ballafletcher. It's the only game on Ireland tomorrow, so we'll be up there covering it for Saturday Live. We're going to see Vagabonds play Ramsey at 2:15. Approximately 3 o'clock, we're going to see Vagabonds versus Southern Nomads, and then around about 3:45, we're going to see Southern Nomads versus Ramsey, and that will give everybody a good bit of preparation. Vagabonds do have one game left against Christleton in their Cheshire bid. They've played 2, lost 2 so far, so they're not going to qualify for the final. That fixture against Christleton is supposed to be taking place next Saturday, although I suspect we're not going to see that. Ramsey will be away at Moore, and Southern Nomads are away at Knutsford as they make their bids for Cheshire glory come the end of the season. Finally, the only other rugby event on this weekend is down at Paulson Park at Castletown. Castletown aiming for a low-stroke non-contact session there at 1 o'clock at Paulson Park. It's open to everybody, all ages, all abilities, all sexes. There is very little in the way of physical contact, so if you fancy a little bit of a run around, throw the rugby ball around but without the associated pain the following morning, you can go down to Paulson Park, 1 o'clock, session totally free. Go down there, throw the ball around, have a bit of a run around and a laugh. That is at 1 o'clock tomorrow at Paulson Park.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally tonight, another big weekend awaits in mixed Manx hockey, as league titles and relegation battles could be decided this weekend. Fixtures across the divisions take place once more tomorrow across the respective leagues, so which way could title glory and relegation heartache go during Saturday? For those details, I caught up once again with our hockey correspondent, Ben Cunningham. The final few fixtures remaining over the next couple of weeks, and still titles and relegations to be decided, some potentially this weekend if certain results align. Let's start in the Mixed Premier League. 11:05, the early pushback, and that's it, the NSC. Vikings B up against Ramsey A, Ben.
Yeah, really big game this for Ramsey A. They have to win this game or they will be relegated from the Premier League this weekend. However, Vikings B, they are just above them and they need the win just as much as Ramsey do. This one will be a really close game, but I think Vikings B are probably going to look just a bit stronger.
And then at 12:35 out in the west at QE2, it's Valkyries A, still very much in the title hunt at the moment, up against Castletown Celts.
Really good game ahead here, and if Valkyries can win this game, potentially looking at other results, if they go their way, they could wrap up the title this weekend. However, as our predecessor has said, never rule out a Castletown team.
The other two games in the Mixed Premier League, 2 pushbacks, starting over at the NSC. The meeting of two rivals once again, Vikings A and Backers A, a crucial game for these two, Ben.
Yeah, real big game this. Both these teams are level on points. Backers just ahead on goal difference. They are both 2 points behind Valkyries A, and if neither team win this game, Valkyries A can wrap up the Premier League title this weekend. So Massive game on the line here at the NSC at 2 o'clock.
And the other game at 2:05 out at King William's College in the south of the island sees Bacchus-B up against Harlequins A.
When these two last met in the league, it was a 5-all draw, 10-goal thriller, absolutely unreal, and I've never heard of it in the Premier League before. It's going to be a real tough game because, as like Vikings B, Harlequins are level on points with them, but they need the win to make sure that they avoid, if Ramsey do win, that relegation battle.
Let's take a look through the other divisions then. We'll start off with 3 games in Mixed Division 1 this Saturday.
12:35 at Castle Rushen High School. This sees Bacchus C against Castown Southerners. Castown Southerners lost to Valkyries B last weekend, so their lead at the top has been taken away from them, and they are now second in the league on goal difference to Valkyries B. So Southerners will definitely want to make sure they get this result. Second game, 2:05 at Castle Rushen High School. Castown Camags against Vikings C. If Vikings C can win this game, Castown Camags will be relegated. However, if Camags can beat Vikings C on the day, then they still stand a fighting chance, depending on if results go their way. Finally, at 2:05 at QE2, we have Valkyries C against Valkyries B. You'd favour the B team to get this win, as they are on the hunt here for the title.
3 games as well over in Mixed Division 2.
11:05 at Castle Rushen High School, and that's Bacchus Colts against Castown Cushags. Castown Cushags third in the league, level on points with Bacchus Colts, who are second. These two are fighting for that second place position. Vikings D did wrap up the title last weekend. Second game is at 11:05 at QE2, and that's Ramsey Ravens against Valkyries D. Valkyries D have got their form back. Ramsey Ravens have not had the best of results the last few weeks, and their results have slightly gone off the way that they were starting the season. Finally, at the NSC, 12:35 is Vikings D against Vikings E. Vikings D wrapped up the title last weekend, so congratulations to them. However, Vikings E, they need to win against their D team this weekend. If they fail to win this game, they will be relegated.
And then in Mixed Division 3, 3 games there, all taking place at Ramsey Grammar School in the north of the island.
Yeah, all in Ramsey. So the first game at 12:35 sees Ramsey Rookies against Castown Cosney. Rookies, they've had a great start to the season, but then their form has slightly dipped. Cosney looked pretty solid and looking good for a mid-table finish, so I'm going for a Castown Cosney win there. Second game is Harlequins B against Bacchus D, 2:05. Harlequins B wrapped up the title last weekend. Bacchus D will be looking to try and see if they can finish off their season in second place. But I think Harlequins B, though, will be favourites on the day. And then finally at 3:35 is Castown Carracks against Harlequins C. Harlequins C mid-table, Castown Carracks rooted to the bottom at the moment, so I'm going to go for a Harlequins C win there.
And last but certainly not least, of course, we have 4 games this Saturday in the Under-15s League.
And the first one in this league is at 12:35, and it sees Harlequins against Bacchus A, Valkyries against Castown Sharks, 3:35 at QE2, Bacchus B against Castown Savers, 3:35 at Castle Rushen High School, and then finally Ramsey Rogues and Rascals against Vikings, 3:35 at the NSC.
That's all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week. Many thanks to my guests as always, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. Have yourself a wonderful Friday evening and a wonderful weekend as always. Chris Kinley is here with you next, but from me until next time, it's bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.